Ms. Allen, we'll begin with you this time. The city website says the sheriff receives 53% of the city's discretionary budget, figure $533 million, which rises each year, as does crime rise each year. As mayor, what would you do to try to stem crime and therefore save us some money?
Similarly to the educational system, crime is not a mayoral function. Fighting crime is not a mayoral function, but again, it is the top seat in the city along with the sheriff. So again, my promise is to work very closely with the sheriff, making sure that the allocation of funds, I don't think that we should reduce the funding. I think we need to look at the reallocation of funds, making sure that the funds are being best used in the areas that they need to be used. That is how I will support the sheriff. Whomever the sheriff is in our next election, I will work very closely with them to make sure that we're on the same page. I will be dealing with the citizens of Jacksonville, hearing where their hearts are as it relates to their relationship with the sheriff department, and sharing those things with him, and hoping to build trust and admiration and respect between the citizens and the sheriff's department.
Thank you. Ms. Cumber.
Thank you. First, I fully support fully funding our JSO and making sure that our men and women in uniform have everything that they need to keep our families safe. We need to start working on these problems before they get to the law enforcement stage. So what I've done in council is I created a nuisance abatement board, which in short, for the very first time in the city has the power to shut down businesses that are harboring illegal activity. I also raised the stripping age to 21. Why? Because there is not one daughter, one little girl in this city who should be groomed to go dance and strip at our strip clubs. Amen. These are the things that we can do proactively from the mayor's seat. Working with the sheriff, making sure the sheriff has all the resources they need, and then figuring out how do we act proactively rather than reactively.
Thank you, Ms. Deegan.
Well, I think it's important for the mayor's office to work with the sheriff's office to make our city as safe as it can possibly be. It's a very dangerous and difficult job. I think it's going to be very important for us to foster conversations in this community, which we have shut down, that we shouldn't shut down, that would help us to have those difficult and uncomfortable conversations that would make things better between our community and our police department. I do believe we need to fully fund our police. I think we also need to make sure that we are getting into our neighborhoods and making sure that we have the infrastructure in those neighborhoods that will make for safer neighborhoods. We need a more community-based policing model where we have our officers embedded in our communities, creating relationships with our police officers. And we need to make sure that our kids are healthy. We have some of the worst health outcomes in the state in our city, and unless we have healthy kids and healthy families, those things are going to impact crime as well. So I think it's very important for the mayor's office to set the example and to work with the sheriff's office, and I think it's very, very important to open some lines of communication that have frankly been closed off for too long.
Thank you, Mr. Ferraro.
Breaking the code of silence. It's something we have to do. Not all parts of town look the same. Like I said earlier, we've got shell casings around kids' playgrounds. We've got to break the code of silence, and as the #1 elected official in the city, going out to showing the different parts of the community that we are going to support them. This is something I've already been doing by going through different neighborhoods. District 2 is one of the safest areas of town because we work with the sheriff's office. We get these bad guys off the street. And as the highest elected official, you can do something about it. The police are reactive. We've got to do something proactive to it. So I would be going out into these communities, just like the police are, getting the community to understand that we have to support our police and get these bad guys off the street. I would continue doing more of that. I would also see about putting prisoners out working in the streets, cleaning our sidewalks, cleaning our streets, and getting things done like we used to, for a couple reasons. One, you want kids when they're growing up to see that there's going to be consequences for what they do. And we also have a big labor pool down at the jail that we should be using. We also want to get these prisoners to where they can end up coming back and having a job when they get out. So there's a lot of things I'd like to talk about this that's more than the time I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gibson.
Thank you. As mayor, I would come to the office with a degree in criminology from the Florida State University and have the certain want to and capacity to at least meet with the sheriff understanding that sometimes crime is cyclical. And the other point for us as a city is we have a pretty young population in our city. The average age is about 35, between 35 and 38. And that's generally a time that people continue to commit different types of crimes, right? So as people age, the crime rate begins to drop, but we may not have that opportunity, so we have to increase our law enforcement. And so I believe in technology, but not the entire budget in the technological world. I've written a civil citations bill. I believe in prevention, giving a bipartisan bill that gives our young people a second chance. I've had town hall meetings on police community relations more than once. So that's what we need to do, is build trust. And then people appreciate officers on the street, without a doubt. They want to feel safe, and it looks safe when we have officers in our neighborhoods, as well as developed relationships with those officers. Back in the day, some of our officers policed the communities that they grew up in because they knew the community and the community knew them. And so if we can get back to that type of policing, where our officers go where they know people, and people then have a better community relationship. And as mayor, I would certainly talk with the sheriff about those possibilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Keesley.
Quickly, I just want to go right back to the education issue because this is important. I've spoken to several PGA professionals that I knew in the golf industry back in '90 when I ran a golf company. And what's been laid on my mind and they love is a program called Golf Not Guns. And the theory and the thesis is if we let a child hit that little 1.68 dimpled ball dead on the dime, they'll feel that in their loin that resonates into their souls, and they'll never pick up a gun to take one. I think one of the greatest things we can do is teach our kids how to play this game of golf. But back to the matter of law enforcement. My approach to law enforcement is a whole new change. It's creating the first Sentinel Science College, or College of Sentinel Science, Technology, Operations, and Procedures in Jacksonville University in association with U of F Health, in association with our law enforcement and the Fire Academy. I've already met with the University of Florida's vice president about this very concept of a 21st century that is a cross-disciplined safety officer. They're already doing it in Europe. I did it in Homewood, Alabama in 2005 in a model, but unfortunately the sheer cliff of 2008 stopped that development. But that's the future. It takes the target off the backs of our police officers, and it raises the whole level of community involvement that now we have a safety net where everybody is a 21st century, cross-trained, specialized within their each field. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Richardson.
Yes, my view for the crime rate is concerned is we can increase the budget, trillions of dollars, but that's not going to stop the crime, as we witness year after year, day after day. Look at the 6 o'clock news. The first thing you hear is so many people have gotten shot, killed, or have been tampered with. My vision would be simply this. We need to get to the root of the problem with crime. Find out why so many crimes are being committed. Until we get to the core root, it's just like a cancer. It will continue. So we need to focus more on how can we prevent crimes. And I say start with the family. That's where the crime begins, with each individual person. Maybe start organizations, have meetings with family members. So things that we can talk about, we can come to a conclusion before it gets to the hands of our beloved police officers. That will protect their lives, that will protect my life, that will protect your lives. Let's get to the root of the problem. Why do we have so much crime here? It starts with each individual household. It starts with each individual. Let's talk more with our children. Let's make them fearful for doing crime. We got to put the fear back into people. That's why crime is so high. They have no fear of going to jail. Once we get that fear back, it will be a change.